Chapter 701 Because It's Not Strong Enough. Have you been rejected again? Ho ho, what an indifferent man. Orochimaru heard Yasunami Nobuomi's answer. She laughed twice, with a different kind of magnetism. He glanced at Anmura Nobuomi again, greedily swept over her body, and said, "It would be great if I could get your powerful body." These words made Anmura Nobuomi suddenly exude murderous intent, saying, "Then you can try it." "Exactly, I recently completed a new trick. It's better to use a person like you who won't die." Orochimaru just snorted and left. But the pharmacist's pocket, who was walking beside him, saw a trace of fear on his face. He rarely sees such an expression on Orochimaru's face, and only that mysterious God can make Orochimaru like this. After all, Orochimaru is someone who doesn't panic in the face of tailed beasts. "Lord Shajirching, there is someone who knows best whether to ask." Nobuomi Anmura came to Shajirching and said hesitantly. "Tell me, what have you asked?" Shajirching asked without opening her eyes. "You are already so powerful that you are invincible in the world, why do you continue to practice so hard?" Nobume Yasun was very puzzled. "The reason why you are still working so hard is because you are not strong enough." Shajirching smiled and said, "The ninja world you see now is just a superficial phenomenon. In the future, this ninja world will undergo earth-shaking changes. At that time, your strength can only protect yourself. If I don't work hard to become stronger, I won't be able to protect you. It will be an unprecedented catastrophe, covering the entire ninja world, and no one can escape." When Shajirching spoke, a strong seriousness flashed on his face. This made Anmura Nobume's heart stunned. She had never seen such an expression on Shajirching's face before. She couldn't help but begin to have a certain understanding of the catastrophe in Shajirching's mouth. "We will continue to work hard, and by then, we will not be a burden to you." After Anmura Nobumi said this, she left with a firm expression on her face. In this regard, Shajirching couldn't help shaking his head. And the catastrophe in Shajirching's mouth is naturally the Fourth Ninja War. As for why he didn't stop it when he knew it, it was because he needed the strength of the 10 tails to leave this world. Regarding the matter of Jouei synthesis, he and Uchiha Obito have no conflict of interest for the time being. So, he won't stop. The system wakes up a year ago. Although the system still can't run normally, at least it has woken up and is no longer in a sleeping state. And this is what he did after absorbing 90% of the chakra of the dragon veins. If you don't get the power of the dragon veins, the ghost knows when the system will wake up. After half a day. "Mr. Shajirching, those people are here again, do you want to drive them away?" At this time, Kinosuke appeared in front of Shajirching and asked with an indignant expression. "Let them wait, don't drive them away, let them fend for themselves. Let Rei Fujino and Ma Kuro prepare and accompany me to the country of snow." Shajirching ordered this, and Wei Jisuke nodded and retired. Outside Shajirching's house. "Did you say that teacher Shajirching will meet us?" A young ninja of about 13 years old, with points still on his face and still childish, asked his companions a little nervously. Chapter 702 Snow Country. "Probably not. You should all know Mr. Shajirching's character. He is happy and vindictive. He didn't drive us away. He has already taken care of our feelings." A slightly older Kamajan sighed and said, "If I had known, I would have gone with teacher Shajirching. Alas, it's a pity that loyalty and righteousness are in a dilemma." Another ninja sighed, his face full of sadness. This sentence made many ninjas bow their heads and sigh. When Shajirching and Konoha broke apart, they also wanted to leave Konoha with Shajirching just like Majuro and the others. However, their parents are in Konoha, how can they bear to leave their parents to follow Shajirching and be that unfilial person? But choosing their parents, they are destined to fail Shajirching's teaching grace and become the unrighteous people. After all, there is no way for them to be alone like those from an orphanage like Majuro and the others. "Oh, forget it, what do you think about we'll just stay here. Stay for 4 or 5 days, if Shajurching doesn't come out, we can also go back to Konoha. At first, the man sighed again and leaned against the tree to close his eyes and rest. Seeing this, the rest of the people also closed their eyes and rested their minds. Konoha sent them here. The purpose is very simple: check the state of Shajurching and see how strong he is now. If you can, let Shajurching teach you for a few days, that's even better. But these people think that Konoha's idea is too shameless. Letting them come here to investigate Shajurching's situation has already made them quite uncomfortable. They are absolutely not going to continue to make further progress. The back door of the house. Let's go. Shajurching glanced at the people at the front door. His eyes were indifferent. Fujino Ling and the two did not speak, and went away behind Shajurching. Snow country. There is still a scene of ice and snow here, which is completely different from the scene in the original book where the flowers bloom in spring. Unlike Fujino Ling, who was wrapped like a zongzi, Shajurching seemed to be unable to sense the cold. She was wearing a thin green shirt, nothing unusual. When they arrived at the city gate, someone was already here to greet them. Your Excellency Shajurching, you have come. It was an old man who greeted the three of Shajurching. The etiquette was in place, and he exuded an air of superiors. Shajurching remembered, what kind of Asama Santefu seems to be his name. I don't know why you suddenly invited me to the snow country. Your Excellency Sitaro. Shajurching looked at the three Teifu Asama and asked calmly. Hehe, mainly because there is a big business that needs to be discussed with you. Isho, the third husband of Asama, wiped the cold sweat on his forehead. Shajurching's aura was so strong that it made him feel a little uncomfortable. Kakashi-sensei, why do we accept this kind of task? At this time, a voice of complaint came from behind everyone. Everyone couldn't help but look, only to see an adult wearing a face mask and a head-to-head, wearing a Konoha ninja vest, followed by 3 10-year-old teenagers walking over. The young boy on the left is extremely cold, dressed in the costumes of the Uchiha clan. In the middle is a girl with long pink hair, with a wide forehead. On the far right is a young man with short orange hair, with carefree hands behind his head. The complaining voice just now came from his mouth. Chapter 703 Big Fist, Who Speaks? Seeing these 4 people, Shajurching's eyes suddenly narrowed to Vivi, while Fujino Rei and Ma Kuro suddenly looked at Santefu Asama, with awe-inspiring murderous intent. I didn't expect to see Konoha here. Interesting, interesting. Shajurching laughed suddenly, and said without looking back, Your Excellency Mitsuda Asama, what you said should have something to do with them. Gollum, no, that's right. Even though Shajurching didn't release any momentum, Sante Asama just felt like he was about to suffocate suddenly. A terrifying oppression descended on him, making him seem to see the god of death beckoning to him, infinite fear. Hehe, let's talk. Since it's a matter, there's always a way to talk about it, right? Shajurching glanced at the Konoha 4 people lightly and said, Kakashi, we meet again. The last time we met was 10 years ago. Time flies really fast. Yes, the leader of the 4, the silver white-haired man, is Kakashi. You can imagine who the few people behind him are. Naruto Uzumaki, Sasuke Uchiha, Sakura Haruno. Yeah, 10 years. Met you again. Kakashi's tone was all solemn, and Sasuke Uchiha, who was standing behind him, clearly saw that Kakashi's body was tense all of a sudden. He couldn't help looking at Shajurching and said, Is that man the Thunder Ninja Shajurching who has guided Big Brother Itachi? It doesn't look like a strong man at all. But from the unprecedented seriousness of Kakashi-sensei, this guy, obviously very dangerous. Instead, Naruto pointed at Shajurching and said, Are you the Shajurching that Hao Lu Shanran often talks about? I finally see you in person. The little stars on his face turned out to be admiring. Looking at their reaction, Shajurching's reaction was very dull. She nodded towards them Vivi, and entered the city gate. The country of snow, the famous palace, the side hall. Tell me, Your Excellency Sitaro, what do you want to talk about this time? You specially invited me to this country of snow. Shajirching leaned on the chair and asked with closed eyes, quite arrogant. Hearing this, Sandero couldn't help feeling a little embarrassed. After glancing at Kakashi, he said, I want to talk about the cooperation and transfer of the snow country. Hearing these words, Shajirching's fingers, who originally tapped on the table, suddenly stopped, and Sitaro's heart was slowed down a beat because of this. Shajirching snorted, I said, you have invited me all the way to come, and you are willing to give me a lot of money. Okay, no problem, I don't know who you want to transfer to. As long as the conditions you give are reasonable enough, I can promise you. Hearing Shajirching's words, Mitsuo-sama couldn't help but heave a sigh of relief, then looked at Kakashi and signaled him to tell him what happened next. We give you a 30% bonus, buy transfer rights. Kakashi said in short words. 50%. No negotiation. Shajirching said indifferently. Impossible. Kakashi refused. Then turn your wrists, in a fight, whoever wins will speak. Shajirching opened his eyes and joked with a smile. 40%, this is our bottom line. Kakashi gritted his teeth and said this. 50%. No negotiation. Shajirching put it lightly, no doubt. Is there really no negotiation? Must it be so excessive? Kakashi asked with trembling hands as he pressed it on the table. Of course. Shajirching replied with a smile on the corner of his mouth. Chapter 704 He is enough to terrify the ninja world. He didn't feel that the atmosphere became extremely tense because of his words, and the sword was drawn. I won't give in to you. Konoha can't agree to your conditions. Shajirching, you are too much. At this time, a roar sounded in the ears of everyone, and Naruto Uzumaki scolded angrily. Bold. Presumptuous. Fujino Ling and Majoro suddenly scolded, and the murderous aura all over his body erupted directly. Suddenly, Kakashi's face changed greatly, and the three Naruto Uzumaki were extremely pale. They feel that they are a lonely boat in front of the turbulent waves, and they will be swallowed up at any time. That sense of fear is despairing. Hehe, answer or not, you say no. Naruto, step back. Shajirching waved at Majoro and the two of them, and they gave up. Shajirching looked at Kakashi. Kakashi, it's up to you to answer. Of course, if you can't make up your mind, go to Yu Hokage. My condition is 50%, not even a single point. If it doesn't work, let's go to war. Shajirching got up, and then said to Santafu-sama, the preferential tariffs of the snow country will be cancelled. In the future, tariffs will be charged according to normal conditions. If you encounter any disaster, Your Excellency Mitsuo-sama, you should seek more blessings for yourself. With a full smile on his face, he suddenly knelt down Santafu-sama in fright. He said in a panic, Your Excellency Shajirching, how can you this, the tariff? Shajirching interrupted him without waiting for him to finish, and said coldly, you have bullied me, and you directly reached a transfer agreement with Konoha without my consent, then what else do I have to say, you ask yourself. Good luck. Quote. Remember, the person in this world who can bully me Shajirching has not yet been born. After that, Shajirching left with Majoro and the two. No matter how Santae-sama kept it, it didn't make any use of it. This guy, what's so terrifying about making a country's Saisuke so humble? Sasuke Uchiha discovered for the first time that he was so interested in a person. You know, in his impression, it is impossible for Hokage to be so rude to Saisuke Ikikuni. It is even more impossible for them to be so desperate. Because he is the deputy commander of the guards of the Country of Fire, one of the 10 richest people in the Country of Fire, the person in charge of the trade port area of the Country of Water, and the strongest ninja in the world. It's a man who is enough to make the ninja world fear. Kakashi said bitterly as he watched Shajirching leave. Hey, so scary. Haruno Sakura's eyes widened in disbelief. Shajirching is so young, and he has such a terrifying resume, this can't be described as a genius. She really had a sense of shock at seeing the new world suddenly. It was really hard for her to imagine how strong Shajur-Ching, who looked so quiet, would make the ninja world fear. In the end, after discussing this matter with the senior officials of Konoha, an agreement was reached with Shajur-Ching on a 5-to-5 account, and the Snow Country officially began to cooperate with Konoha. The Snow Kingdom suddenly didn't want to cooperate with Shajur-Ching because Mitsuru Asama felt that the conditions set by Shajur-Ching were too high. For example, the resources that Shajur-Ching resold to them were 25% higher than the market standard. In cooperation with Konoha, the price is lower than the market standard under the same resource quality. Therefore, after thinking for a while, even though he knew that doing so would offend Shajur-Ching, he still made this transfer decision. Chapter 705 deviating from the original plot. However, what he didn't expect was that Shajur-Ching would cancel the tariff preference without any sympathy. This was completely beyond Santeifu Asama's expectations. He originally thought that with Shajur-Ching's reputation, there should be no other measures other than anger. Moreover, Shajur-Ching was angry. It was a big deal that he compensated Shajur-Ching for some money. However, this time, Shajur-Ching did not do what he envisioned at all, and did not play cards according to the routine. The thought of the heavy tariffs made him feel like he was shooting himself in the foot. On the way back, I didn't expect that in Konoha's 58 years, the three of Uzumaki Naruto graduated. It's interesting. It seems that the plot has begun to develop not according to the route I remember. Shajur-Ching thought about it on the road, looking at the four Kakashi sitting opposite them. Shajur-Ching's heart flashed a bit of fun. It's a little more interesting, and that's not bad, isn't it? He opened his mouth and said to Kakashi, the three outstanding students, you are lucky, Kakashi. Kakashi heard that although he didn't understand why Shajur-Ching said that, he still nodded undeniably. As for Shajur-Ching's praise, Sasuke Uchiha was calm, Naruto Uzumaki and Sakura Haruno were overjoyed. That is, they graduated too early. Will it be a little bit of help? Hearing Shajur-Ching's words, Kakashi's brows suddenly wrinkled, and his tone was also a little unkind. You don't have to worry about this. They are all certified and tested by Naruto, and they have passed the graduation test. Shajur-Ching heard the undeniable issue, and said, I heard that you will hold the Chunin exam in a few months. I don't know what the strength of your Konoha village graduates this year is. An LT, P and GT. Hearing Shajur-Ching's words, Kakashi suddenly tightened his body and asked badly, what do you want to do? Seeing Kakashi's appearance, Shajur-Ching signaled him not to be so nervous, and said, I'm just bored. I have trained a few ninjas with some qualifications, and when the time comes, I will also come to take the Chunin exam in your Konoha village. Quote. Hearing Shajur-Ching's words, Kakashi's body tensed immediately. Shajur-Ching's smile became even stronger, and said, then see you at that time. I hope you ninjas in Konoha village will not disappoint me. An LT, P and GT. After he finished speaking, he closed his eyes and never had any communication with Kakashi and the others after that. And the three Naruto Uzumaki were angered by what Shajur-Ching just said. What he meant in what he said just now, it was clear that he looked down on them. However, under the cold eyes of Majoro and the two of them, they really didn't dare to be presumptuous. In a few days. Has he trained a few people to participate? Then let him come and let us see his level. Jiraiya, who got the news from Kakashi, said with a face full of indifference. The Uchiha family. After listening to Sasuke Uchiha's angry complaint, Uchiha Itachi sighed and said, if it's teacher Shajur-Ching, you don't need to be angry if he doesn't take him seriously. After all, in his eyes, I'm just a weak person. Quote. There was a hint of helplessness on his face. Sasuke Uchiha was surprised when he heard this. He said in surprise, that man, is Shajur-Ching really that powerful? In his eyes, his eldest brother Uchiha Itachi is already strong enough. After all, Uchiha Itachi is the one who is called Konoha's #1 shinobi by Naruto. But Uchiha Itachi actually said that he was only weak in front of Shajirching. How strong is Shajirching? Chapter 706 The Supreme Figure, The Legend of Shajirching. Sasuke, it's too early for you now. But you only need to remember one thing. In this world, no one can beat him. He is absolutely invincible and his strength is unfathomable. Uchiha Itachi's eyes are full of admiration. It is definitely not an exaggeration to make the ninja world fear by one person, but a fact of the matter. After all, he is the man who can easily defeat the suppression of even a terrifying tailed beast like the Nine-Tailed. Moreover, one person retreated the 100,000 army of Yun Ninja, and one person ended the invasion of the 3 major ninja villages, crushing the 4 generations of water shadows, completely surpassing the 3 generations of soil shadows, the supreme figure, no one can surpass. He stands at the absolute peak. Even though he has not appeared in the world for so many years, the legends about him in the ninja world have never stopped. Uchiha Itachi had deep gratitude and admiration in his eyes, and said, "He saved my Uchiha family's benefactor and taught your elder brother a lot of truths. I can have the current strength thanks to his teaching." Quote, "Anyone can be disrespectful to him, but only our Uchiha family can't, understand." Hearing Uchiha Itachi's words, Uchiha Sasuke was horrified beyond measure. He said, "Shajirching, is it really that powerful? Strength, is it so powerful?" Uchiha Itachi sighed and said, "He is the only man who can make me feel hopeless." "Do you think he is strong?" Sasuke Uchiha is silent. How could he feel that Shajirching was not strong enough to make his genius-like eldest brother despair? It's just that he didn't expect Shajirching to be so strong. Is he really only 24 years old? Uchiha Sasuke thought in his heart. Shajirching's house. The Chunin exam of Konoha will be held in a few months. This is the registration form for the 3 of you. Do you have the confidence to shine? Shajirching looked at the 3 in front of him and asked. Yes. These are 3 teenagers about 11 years old, shouting with great excitement. Confidence is a good thing, but at the end of the day, you have to speak with facts. So, in the next few months, there will be harsh training waiting for you, so be mentally prepared. Shajirching said with a very scary expression. One of them said, "Hey, we have endured the cruel Shira field in the past, the big deal is to experience it again." The young man in the middle immediately said, "Yes, you have to endure hardships, and you will become a superior person. Isn't it just training? Come on." In the end, the boy nodded excitedly, without the slightest fear. "Hee, then let me see which step you can reach in the end." Shajirching laughed a little creepily, so he handed the 3 to Anmura Nobumi. Time, just like this, from May of Konoha 58, quietly from the screams of a group of people, to February of Konoha 59. Konoha Village, the Chunin exam has begun. Katsutaro, Watanaro, Mirai, are you 3 ready? Shajirching looked at the 3 people who were 1 year older and asked. Of course. The 3 of them shouted in unison, their faces full of excitement. Katsutaro was even more impatient. I can't wait, I really want to go to Konoha Village right now. Watanaguro and Mirai Suke both have similar expressions. Let's go then. Nobumi Yasunori, you all go to Konoha with me. It's a pity to miss such a good battle. When everyone heard the words, they all showed excitement and shouted long live. Chapter 707 No Regret Medicine. Housekeeper, I'll leave this house to you. Shajirching looked at the old man standing beside him again and exhorted. Yes. The old man replied respectfully, and then said, Santefu Asama has been here for 2 days, and I beg you to transfer back to the original cooperation mode. Do you see me? Shajirching sneered when he heard the words. No. Go back to the original mode. It's better to think. Let him taste the bitter fruit he planted himself. Since he feels that the price of Konoha is relatively low and the benefits are relatively large, let him go. The water that was spilled can't be taken back. If you want to come back, you can't do it without paying the price. The butler nodded, then took a step back, bowed his head and said nothing. In business, there is no room for mercy. What's going on? It turned out that Sante-Asama cancelled the cooperation agreement with Shajirching and switched to cooperation with Konoha. The intensity of various inspections, as well as transportation conditions, prices, and even the law and order on the road, have completely changed. Santao-Asama and Snow Country need to spend more capital to settle these things. Santafu-Asama was in a hurry. After inquiring, I found out that the reason why Shajirching charged a higher price than the market price was to control these little ghosts along the way. As the saying goes, the king of hell is easy to provoke, and the devil is difficult to deal with, but in the ninja world, how can you not encounter the little devil? Although these people are not high-ranking officials, sometimes the county officials are not as good as the current ones. If they do not agree, they will really encounter difficulties. But in the past, they were intimidated by Shajirching's power, and the little devils saw that Shajirching also gave them dividends every year. Therefore, for all the forces that cooperate with Shajirching, as long as the quality is passed, they will basically not make things difficult for them. But when they heard that the Kingdom of Snow had cancelled their cooperation with Shajirching, they were directly excited. They almost feel like spring is here. What about Konoha? The only person they are afraid of is Shajirching. So, the tragedy of Mitsuha-Asama came. Alas! Sante-Asama sighed and sighed as if he was 10 years older. Only now did he know that the content of Shajirching and his cooperation model was simply a great treatment for his country of snow, but he didn't see the form clearly. To believe the words of those courtiers with ulterior motives in the snow country, they actually did such a stupid thing. It's okay to be a sinner in the economic turmoil of the snow country, but he doesn't know the good heart and offense Shajirching. The thought of this made him even more worried. He has absolutely no idea how to recover the loss now. Shajirching is here. Go. With an order, the 3 of Katsutaro and the 7 of Anmura-Nobume set off together. When they set off, many other ninja village teams also set off. The Chunin exam is said to be an exam, but in fact, it is a shrinking war between countries, and it is still the kind that sees no blood. By passing the Chunin exam, you can roughly see the strength level of a country. Konoha Village. I heard that Orochimaru will also participate this time. Namikaze Minato looked at Shikahisa Nara beside him, and Vivi frowned. Yes, according to the news, the members of the Sound Ninja Village he established will also take this exam this time, but I am afraid that the comers are not good. Hearing Nara Shikahisa's words, Minato nods his head, and Nara Shikahisa's worries are not unreasonable. After all, people like Orochimaru are too dangerous. Chapter 708 Orochimaru's Mind. But the most dangerous person should be this one. Nara Shikahisa said with a wry smile, pointing to a gilt application form. Tiantu, the top strip of paper, usually used to print company names and things like that. Shajirching. As he read this name, Minato Namimo's eyes suddenly became sharp. Although Lord Jiraiya said it was okay to let him come, but when he actually came, it was still deeply worrying. After all, every move of this man can affect the stability of the world. The matter of the snow country is still in sight. Nara Shikahisa rubbed his temples and said with a headache. Let's be more vigilant. If he really wants to mess up, then we can only wait for it. Konoha is no longer the level of 3 years ago. We are not afraid of anyone. I also sent Anbu to deal with the matter of the snow country. Do you really think that there is no one in Konoha village? Haki Namaifung Minato made a decision. Nara Shikahisa nodded and left. Has Shajirching also participated in this exam? Haha, interesting. A certain man with skin as white as jade, with a long and narrow nose, and a man in a kimono with snake eyes, made a low and magnetic voice, and licked his lips as he spoke. Behind him, followed by a group of ninjas wearing note-patterned forehead guards. They are none other than the people of Yinan village led by Orochimaru. Orochimaru-sama, why do you want to take such a boring exam? We don't need to get their approval. A hunchback asked suddenly. Just come and see the strength of the major ninja villages. Orochimaru is so awe-inspiring Isho, there is an inexplicable light in his eyes. Unlike in the original book, this time, Orochimaru did not have the idea of launching the Konoha collapse plan. After all, Konoha is too powerful now. Yo, Orochimaru, what a coincidence. At this moment, a greeting voice came from behind the sighing Orochimaru. Orochimaru doesn't even need to turn around, she knows who's coming. Hee, I didn't expect to meet you here, Shajirching. Orochimaru licked his lips and turned around, saying. They saw Shajirching and his party standing behind them, looking at them. I really want to know why you came to take this exam. With your current reputation and strength, you shouldn't need such a false name. Orochimaru asked with a faint smile. Don't you too, with your current strength and reputation, do you need to be recognized by Konoha village? Shajirching glanced at the people behind Orochimaru, who were basically those in his memory. Kagaya Junmalu, also translated as Bamboo Tori Junmalu, the Sound and Ninja group of 4, and the Sound and Ninja trio who became cannon fodder in the original work, and now do not know what fate will be. When Shajirching looked at them, except for Kagaya Junmalu, everyone else couldn't help but look away with fear in their hearts. Shajirching's gaze is too terrifying, it is too oppressive. Even a look can make them feel like they will die immediately. While Shajirching was looking at Orochimaru's men, Orochimaru was also looking at the people that Shajirching brought. In addition to the 7 people he knew very well, including Nobuyume Yasunori, his eyes focused on the 3 of Katsutaro. As expected of the person taught by Shajirching, this strength is really strong, and it can catch up with the strength of Junmalu Bakung, who is not in the state of the curse. Orochimaru narrowed his eyes, and was quite surprised by the strength of the 3 of Katsutaro. Chapter 709 The Attacking Tail Beast. Orochimaru was surprised, the 4 of them also made waves in their hearts. What is it to compare people with people? It's maddening. They know now. In front of the 3 of Katsutaro, those who originally thought they were good, couldn't help but feel ashamed. The strength of the 3 of Katsutaro made them feel extremely heavy pressure. They have no doubt that they have absolutely no hope of victory against Katsutaro and others. Unless you enter the cursed state. The 3 of Katsutaro, facing the gazes of the 4 of them, were extremely nervous in their hearts, but on the surface, they still pretended to be calm. It looks quite arrogant. From beginning to end, the only person who has been able to remain calm is Kagaya Junmaru. But judging from the flickering eyes he looked at Anmura Nobuyume and the others, it seemed that his heart was not as calm as he seemed. Okay, don't continue to look at it in secret, let's go into Konoha. Shajirching interrupted the atmosphere of scrutiny, and brought Katsutaro and others into Konoha. Regarding the arrival of Shajirching, Konoha guard expressed a strong sense of vigilance. The search was several times stronger. For fear of Shajirching's plans to do something wrong. After Shajirching and others entered, the arrival of Orochimaru and his party immediately made Konoha's people vigilant again. Orochimaru, Shajirching, are quite dangerous characters. But this time, neither of them has any malicious intent. Taki Ninja Village. This should be a secluded, quiet and peaceful place. However, now this place has become a ruin. Nana-tailed column force, the capture is successful. Feijuan, who was carrying the red 3-edged sickle, was covered in blood, but said very proudly. In front of him, lay a girl lying in a pool of blood, no longer breathing. Okay, pack up and go to the next place. Jiaodu brought up the girl's body and urged Feijuan to continue on the road. Feijuan cut the road in annoyance, and followed. In front of a certain sea area in Wuyin village. 3-tail recycling, success. A certain man wearing a log-colored swirl mask said indifferently. In front of him, the huge 3 tails actually passed out, exuding a scorching aura. Then, a space vortex appeared in front of Sanwei and swallowed him in. A sewer in Union Village. It hurts. Asshole. Feijuan, like being executed, pulled out the black stick that pierced his palm and nailed him to the wall, and wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. He kicked the dead two-tailed man Zuli and Union from the wooden man to Jiaodu. Art is a blast, drink it. Sand and Iron Realm, not attack. Somewhere on the border of the Fire Nation, the six-tailed man Zhu Liugao was finally defeated by the Red Sand Scorpion and Didera. It's really tricky, you bastard. Didera scolded and fell to the ground, looking at Yu Gao, who was seriously injured and passed out, with a dignified expression. No one would have thought that Yu Gao would have two forms of tailed beast power, if not for the poison of the Red Sand Scorpion was indeed strong enough to make him gradually lose his combat effectiveness. Otherwise, this person Zuli will really be run away. Take it, I don't like to wait. The Red Sand Scorpion glanced at Didera with a stern face, and then got into the crimson amber again, turning into an old man with a hoarse voice. Chapter 710 Human Pillar Force Capture Plan. Ninja 10,000 Detonation Talismans. Somewhere on the border of Yenian village, a cold and arrogant woman flying in the air waved her hand indifferently. Use 10,000 detonating charms to wrap the man below who was trapped by two panes. Bang! After a terrifying explosion, the woman fell to the ground. Looking at the unrecognizable corpse that was bombed, he said coldly, "Five-tailed man Zuli, the recovery is successful." And in another battlefield less than a dozen miles away from her. PFF'd. The godlike pain of heaven also solved this man who was emitting hot magma all over his body. Four-tailed human pillar force, the recovery is successful. Tiandao Pain said so, and then, after the two met, they left here. When Yenian village and others who came to hear the news checked it out, only a piece of mess and dried blood were left behind. However, the disappearance of Ren Zuli suddenly attracted the strong attention of the shadows of their respective ninja villages. They all felt an inexplicable sense of urgency and a deep panic. Ren Zuli suddenly disappeared. Who did it? Is it only the Ren Zuli from our shinobi village who disappeared? The shadows of the three major ninja villages of Yenian Village, Union Village, and Wuyin Village thought so at the same time. They blocked the news at the same time, and did not want other villages to know that the tailed beast in their village was missing. Because this is very likely to cause your village to be attacked. Among them, Rakage from Union Village was the most excited. In addition to ordering the blockade of news, he also imprisoned Rabbi Ricky from the eight-tailed pillar, and guarded him strictly. Without his order, Rabbi Kiribati would never be allowed to leave. The major ninja villages maintained their calm on the surface, and secretly dispatched a large number of people to investigate the disappearance of Ren Zuli. The disappearance of Ren Zuli made them restless. And all of this has nothing to do with Konoha village and Cheyenne village from the assessment. They don't even know about it. After all, in today's world, the major ninja villages are all suspicious of each other. How could such a thing be told to others? Lord Fengying, welcome. As an alliance partner, Minato Namikaze personally met with the four generations of Kazekage and his party from Sandian village. Hokage-sama is welcome. Luo Sha was also very modest, and went to the VIP room with Minato Namikaze and the others. And Shajirching, Orochimaru and the others were directly guided to their respective rest areas, without any special place. This made Fujino Ling and others quite angry. It's too much, it's not necessary for people to take tea and cold. Katsutaro said with an angry look on his face. Let him go, that's the reality anyway, isn't it? Shajirching did not show any dissatisfaction, and then, with his group of students, went to the summer charcoal specialty store in Konoha village. Lord Shajirching, you are here, the private room is ready upstairs. The person in charge here has already made great preparations. When I heard that Shajirching was coming, I was really scared and excited. I arranged it for several days in advance, for fear that Shajirching would not be satisfied. Have a heart. Shajirching patted the man on the shoulder and said with a smile. It is my honor to serve Mrs. Shajirching. The person in charge was shaking all over with excitement, as if he had lost several kilograms. He took Shajirching and others upstairs. This surprised some of the new service staff in the store. Chapter 711. That is Mr. Shajirching. Who is that? Why is the store manager so polite and even a little servile? A girl looked at Shajirching and his party with curiosity in her eyes. In her impression, the store manager was an existence that made everyone fearful. One of his eyes can make everyone shudder. The absolute emperor of the earth controls the lives of all of them. Even when dealing with some high-level executives in Konoha village, their store managers also face it calmly and are on an equal footing with them. But now, she actually saw the always dignified store manager, just like a sidekick, in front of this young man Shajirching. He was arrogant. Hey, are you confused? Who can make our majestic store manager be so humble? That one is the former manager of this summer charcoal specialty store, and the owner and founder of the summer charcoal specialty store, Mr. Shajirching. In front of Mr. Shajirching, even the store manager is only a small role. Of course he is submissive, even servile. After all, Mr. Shajirching is the one who can decide the fate of the store manager in one word. We have practiced so many times this time to make the store so beautiful and clean. Why, not just to welcome the arrival of Lord Shajirching. An older girl looked at Shajirching's figure about to disappear at the entrance of the stairs with a face full of stars, and said with admiration. Hey, is that Master Shajirching? The girl couldn't help but gasp and said in surprise, you're really young, it's amazing. There are also little stars in her eyes that she admires. Upstairs. Good job, I didn't see the wrong person. After Shajirching and others were seated, Shajirching reaffirmed the ability of the store manager. The store manager nodded again and again, excited and didn't know what to say. But, Shajirching's voice changed. It's not necessary to decorate it specially, to deal with me by sanitation. You can be responsible for half of today's every day, so I don't have anything to worry about. After all, I only came here for a short time, and I couldn't find too many problems. The other diners are the real protagonists. Make them satisfied and listen to their opinions as much as possible. Guarantee food safety, maintain service level. After a long time, word of mouth will naturally come out. With these, and pay attention to some details, I don't have to worry about this store going out of business. The store manager naturally nodded again and again, saying that he would definitely implement it. Okay, go do your work, I'm just a guest, leave the rest to professionals. I still have confidence in the level of service staff in the store. Shajirching looked at the restless store manager, smiled and waved. The latter immediately scratched his head and backed out. It's only here that you can feel familiar, just like home, you can relax. Shajirching glanced around. The table, chairs, window and wood were all the same as what he had seen back then, without any change. Yeah, or only here, can people have a feeling of coming home. Here, we carry too many good memories. Ray Fujino replied, since that day, the place where we met has always been here. Chapter 712 Beautiful Years. Majoro also opened his mouth to join in. At that time, we were talking loudly in South Blue North, and we were in high spirits. How comfortable. Sakajalang and others also showed nostalgic expressions on their faces, saying, the memory of the old place is really unique. This elegant room really carries too many things for them. All kinds of laughter, hope, gratitude and more. Anmura Nobuomi held her face. I still remember that time. The happiest time of the day is to come here to eat and drink after training. Mr. Shajirching always looked at us with a smile and asked us to eat more to grow our bodies. We were always afraid of ruining Mr. Shajirching, so we didn't dare to eat more. Fujino Ray Isho, but we found out later. Having said that, she and Majoro and the others looked at each other, and couldn't help but feel Isho. We have no idea how rich teacher Shajirching's financial resources are. Even if we eat 10 times more, it won't shake teacher Shajirching. Katsutaro and the others listened quietly. They didn't have similar memories, but just listening to the past of Anmura Nobume and the others made people yearn for it. Besides, listening to them speak is a very enjoyable thing in itself, isn't it? Looking at the majestic teacher who trained them in the past, all of a sudden, he returned to his true nature, telling it like a child, isn't it a great thing? And when they were talking in the private room, downstairs, representatives from various ninja villages were also enjoying the food in 2s and 3s. It's so lively and outrageous, this business is so good that it's despairing. Even if Shajir-Ching doesn't become a ninja, he will have nothing to worry about for the rest of his life. In this case, the representatives of each ninja village are talking. Shajir-Ching is truly a peerless evildoer. Even if you are strong, you can still do business like this. Just don't give other people a way to live. Looking at the bustling crowd in the store, I don't know how many people have retired and come to this store for a drink and a chat. The atmosphere here is so good that people like Orochimaru can't help but feel a sense of relaxation like never before. It's really amazing. Orochimaru sighed with emotion. As for who he said, I don't know. And on a quiet street in Konoha. Whoops. A child with a snot and a long scarf around his neck suddenly bumped into someone, but was knocked to the ground. Little devil, you don't have eyes when you walk, do you want to die? It was a man with a hunchback wrapped in bandages who was talking. He grabbed the boy's neck with a murderous face and lifted him up. Jiren said with a smile, Noha kid, hurry up and apologize now and I can spare you a life. You better let me go, do you know who I am? You can't mess with me. But after the boy was caught, he did not panic, but instead said proudly, Oh, who are you? What's special about you? Let's not get offended. Hearing this, the bandaged man couldn't help showing interest and asked curiously. Then listen carefully, the bandaged man who the boy listened to really said, and suddenly showed an extremely proud look. I am the grandson of the 3rd generation of Hokage, the younger brother of the son of the 4th generation of Hokage. Konoha village Konoha Maru is also. If you don't want to die, let me go quickly, otherwise, you will have a very difficult time in Konoha next time. Yes, this little boy is naturally Konoha Maru who is only 7 years old this year. Chapter 713 Different Storyline. Ha ha ha, the grandson of the 3rd generation. The younger brother of the 4th generation, be well. Who knows, after hearing Konoha Maru's words, the bandaged man suddenly laughed. Laughing extremely presumptuously, contemptuously. This made Konoha Maru's heart skip a beat. The bandaged man didn't react right. When others hear of his identity, they should be full of fear and let him go. Why is this bandaged man smiling? He has no fear at all. If you apologize just now, I might be able to let you go. But since you are ignorant, don't blame me for being ruthless. I don't like being threatened. Hearing the bandaged man's words, Konoha Maru panicked and his pupils shrank. He was terrified and wanted to break free, but the bandaged man's hands were like iron pliers, tightly clasping his neck, making him almost out of breath. This made Konoha Maru feel fear directly. He said, Am I going to die here? At this time, just as the bandaged man was about to take away Konoha Maru and tortured, a shot of bitterness shot at the bandaged man, causing him to immediately shout, Who is it? He hurriedly turned around to look, but saw a handsome and indifferent young man walking out of the corner in front of him. He was wearing a costume with the Uchiha clan emblem, and said coldly, The person who held my Konoha in my Konoha, do you think my Konoha is gone? Needless to say, the person here is naturally Sasuke Uchiha. HMPH, what about the Uchiha clan? Look at me. The bandaged man saw Uchiha Sasuke with disdain in his eyes as always. But just as he was about to rush towards Sasuke, a cold kunai had already touched his neck. An even colder, indifferent voice sounded, with a strong murderous aura, You'd better not move. You are really very thoughtful if you commit crimes in the jurisdiction of my Uchiha clan. But behind him, a young man dressed in a red imperial robe, with pigtails and deep nasolabial lines on his face stood indifferently. Who is it if it's not Uchiha Itachi? Uchiha Itachi. When the bandaged man saw Uchiha Itachi's face, he couldn't help shouting in horror, and then he threw the Konohamaru and disappeared in place with a bang. Cough cough cough. Konohamaru was caught by Uchiha Itachi, and he couldn't help coughing hard for the rest of his life. Then, he thanked Uchiha Itachi. Thank you, brother Itachi. And when Konohamaru had an affair with the bandaged man, it was in another street. Do you also want to taste the taste of blood? The one-tailed pillar power, which was cultivated as a killing weapon, and the Naruto Uzumaki of Destiny Child, still met. Cut, I don't want ya, you bastard, let me loose the girl in your hand. Naruto looked angrily at the girl who was about to suffocate by the grim Gaara in his hand, and said also angrily. That girl is none other than Haruno Sakura. Naruto, save me. Seeing Naruto coming, Haruno Sakura suddenly pleaded helplessly as if she had seen a savior. Then I'll tell you if you win. Gaara made a very ferocious voice, completely ignoring Temari's persuasion, and rushed towards Naruto. Today's Naruto is naturally different from the tale of the crane in the original book. There is no need to suppress the 9 tails, and there is a father who is Hokage and the teacher of Sannin, Jiraiya. Coupled with the excellent talent he inherited from Minato Namaifung, he can be described as a well-known genius among Konoha. Chapter 714 Changed People. Multiple Shadows. He separated a shadow clone and rushed towards Gaara, and immediately, a sea of people surrounded Gaara. Boom bang bang. I Love Lua waved his arm and threw Haruno Sakura directly out, smashing into a shadow clone, and then, like a beast, he rushed towards Naruto. But Naruto didn't fight him head-on at all, and the shadow clones avoided frantically. It evolves like a big formation, making Gaara's crazy attack, completely failed to attack any target. Looking like this, is it really good? Your Excellency Jiraiya, if he gets hurt, it will be bad. This Gaara is a killing machine in the future. What I don't understand is enough to stop. Not far from here, Shajirching looked at Jiraiya sitting on the roof and asked with a smile. If you don't experience actual combat, you will never be able to become a qualified ninja. I remember you said this sentence, why did you forget it so quickly? Zilai also responded to Shajirching with one of Shajirching's words. In this regard, Shajirching did not comment, but said, that said, Naruto is not Gaara's opponent yet. This should be his first battle. Hearing this, Zilai also raised his brows and said, you seem to be very concerned about Naruto, are you very interested in him? Shajirching, of course, I don't pay attention to the descendants of geniuses like Minato and Kushina, and I can't justify it. Hearing the words, Jirai also urged Isho, since you are so concerned, why don't you bring it back to teach and teach? Shajirching rolled his eyes. Forget it, I won't misunderstand the children, Naruto should leave you to teach yourself. Then, it turned into a thunderbolt and disappeared in front of Jiraiya. Below, there is already Konoha dark part of the two people. In other places, there are conflicts of varying degrees between all parties. Only the group led by Shajirching happily ate meat, drank wine, and talked about life happily. Outside things have nothing to do with them. The next day, the Chunin exam has begun. In the original book, Shaoli confessed, Shaoli vs Uchiha Sasuke, and the test room serial number illusion events all happened one by one. Shaoli's confession was rejected as always. But the battle between Shaoli and Uchiha Sasuke ended in a draw. After all, Uchiha Itachi taught, Uchiha Sasuke's strength and state of mind are different from the original. As for the final test room serial number illusion event, the original plot was Naruto's trick, and the rest of the people basically saw it through. And now, even Naruto sees something wrong and is not fooled. After that, everything went smoothly, nothing happened, and the first exam started like this. Shajirching and the other team leaders were sitting in the reception room, sitting around an arc-shaped table, watching their exams. The atmosphere at the scene was quite strange. The people on Konoha's side frequently swept over Shajirching and Orochimaru, and were extremely vigilant. Everyone, looking at me like a thief makes me very stressed. Shajirching smiled, leaned back on the chair, and said jokingly. As he spoke, he was still peeling an orange in his hand, then pushed a piece into his mouth, and said, "This orange is sweeter than before. It seems that everyone in Konoha has put in a lot of effort. It's like these new generation now, each of them amazes me." Quote. Quite indifferent, just like Shajirching is the master here. Chapter 715. Each of you are pregnant. Hearing Shajirching's words, Konoha's top executives are proud and more vigilant. It's good to be appreciated by Shajirching, but why does he have nothing to mention about this? Does he have any purpose? Hey, everyone, Konoha, don't look at me with a paranoid persecution. As I said, I'm not interested in you, Konoha. So, if you suspect that I have a purpose, then you don't have to guess. You can't guess because I have no purpose. Shajirching's words made everyone present look different, but one thing is obvious, no one believes that Shajirching is really useless. No purpose, what did he come to Konoha for? His existence at this level can't be just Konoha because of boredom. But unfortunately, they really guessed it right. He is Konoha who came here because he was bored. If you have time to watch me, you might as well watch more of these players, after all, so that you can know what to do. I am not responsible if you lose access to important information by looking at me. Regarding the attitudes of Konoha and these people, Shajirching ridiculed them with the worst attitude. When Orochimaru heard the meaningful issue, he looked away. And after Shajirching finished speaking, her eyes narrowed. In the long and narrow eyes, there is an occasional glimmer of light. Unable to guess what Shajirching was thinking, everyone had to focus on the exam again. However, the monitoring of Shajirching has never been less. In the first exam, the results were the same as those in the original. All those who survived the intimidation of Ibushi Mori and stayed behind all passed. This exam has made many people remember the name Naruto Uzumaki. No, Naruto. Interesting, never giving up as his ninja, people start to inexplicably look forward to his next performance. Orochimaru licked his lips, but his eyes greedily focused on Sasuke Uchiha. If such a body could be occupied, that would be great. And Uchiha Shisui and Uchiha Itachi, who were present, were keenly aware of this, and invariably stood in front of Orochimaru. Then, the two of them looked back at Orochimaru at the same time, and the two pairs of scarlet kaleidoscope writing wheel eyes exuded an unusually terrifying aura, making people shudder. Even Orochimaru felt a strong chill, and immediately looked away. Such small details naturally did not escape the attention of everyone. They have a clearer understanding of Konoha's cognition in their hearts. The second test, the Death Forest Survival Battle. At the beginning, the ninjas of the major ninja villages started a fierce fight. And among them, Gaara of Sandian Village and Yinanu of Yinan Village are the most concerned. After all, their battles were the most bloody and brutal. There are quite outstanding talents. Orochimaru, it's a pity that the person next to you didn't take this exam. Shajirching said to Orochimaru without raising his head, so that everyone's eyes could not help but focus on Orochimaru. The person beside him is none other than Kagaya Junmaro. As Orochimaru's bodyguard, he didn't join the exam. It's no pity, if he joins, it will break the rules of the game. Orochimaru replied calmly. It's Sandian Village, it deserves to be an existence that pursues an elite policy. The quality of ninjas is high, and it has a crushing advantage over other ninja villages. Orochimaru's words were quite provocative. Chapter 716. Just kidding. Other shinobi villages, naturally, also include Konoha village. But who is Luo Sha? How could the 4 generations of Fengying not be able to hear? He replied. It's just their own unique way of living, there is no distinction between high and low. If possible, I'd rather be like Konoha, let the ninjas live peacefully and peacefully. It's perfect, and it's a pleasure to listen to. However, as the second-largest ninja village economy, Cheyenne Village's policy of elite soldiers, the ninja qualities cultivated are indeed much higher than those of Konoha Village's ninja peers. Shajir-Ching's sudden interjection made Luo Sha secretly say, "Damn," and Minato Namimo's expression was a little unsightly. Shajir-Ching, who never took the initiative to cause trouble, actually took the initiative to cause trouble, which made many representatives of the ninja village present look like they were watching a good show. It is rumored that Shajir-Ching and Konoha executives are at odds with each other, but now, it is true. Does it have to be so hard to tolerate sand? Shajir-Ching, Your Excellency. Zilai also spoke, a little dissatisfied. It's just a matter of fact, Your Excellency Jiraiya, why are you excited? Shajir-Ching put another orange in his mouth and said, although that orange was sweet, after all, there is sweetness in the sweetness. If it is not sweet enough to satisfy the eater, then the final fate can only be like this orange. With that said, Shajir-Ching threw the orange that he only ate in his hand into the trash can and said, What do you think, Your Excellency Jiraiya, do you think Konoha will be abandoned by the big name one day? An LT, P and GT. Shajir-Ching's words instantly ignited Jiraiya's emotions. He asked in a low voice, What the hell are you trying to do? The light in his eyes was extremely dangerous. What did you mean just now? Shajir-Ching peeled another orange and said, It's nothing, it's just a joke, why take it seriously? Why, is it possible that the dignified Mr. Jiraiya can't even make a joke? Of course Konoha will not be replaced. After all, no one can surpass the original Hokage and build a more powerful village than Konoha Village. Hearing Shajir-Ching's words, Zilai also really wanted to blurt out, No, there is someone who can do this, that's you can't make a joke like this. But when the words reached his throat, he swallowed them again. If he said this, wouldn't it be equivalent to admitting that Konoha was afraid of Shajir-Ching? This is an absolutely heavy blow to Konoha's prestige. That's right, keep watching the game. Don't say it, this Gaara really looks a bit like me back then, killing people like hemp. Shajir-Ching was sipping oranges and talking nonsense, but no one thought he was talking nonsense. Shajir-Ching's words just now made them all fall into silent thinking. Especially with Konoha. They had suspected that Shajir-Ching had come with a purpose, and what he said just now made them even more suspicious. So much so that they didn't have the energy to watch Konoha 12 Xiaoqiang's performance. I also missed Katsutaro and their wonderful battle. Anmura Nagumi looked at Shajir-Ching proudly. She knew clearly that what Shajir-Ching said just now was really just a joke. But the shadow of Yikyun, who can scare him with a joke, is uneasy, and only his teacher Shajir-Ching can do it. Because Shajir-Ching has the ability to turn jokes into reality. Chapter 717 I Love Lo's Horror. Ho ha ho, worthy of being a student taught by Your Excellency Shajir-Ching, this strength is tyrannical. Orochimaru's low and magnetic voice came, and everyone couldn't help but look at the screen. But Katsutaro, who I saw, actually fought with Gaara. Boom bang bang. Facing the pursuit of Gaara's huge sand waves, Katsutaro kept flying out a shuriken with a detonating talisman. The sand waves that Gaara pursued were continuously blasted, slightly blocking Gaara's offensive trend. It's naive to think this attack can avoid death. I love Luo's savage beating. He has already suffered from Katsutaro, who moves as nimble as a monkey, and slaps the ground angrily, quicksand waterfalls. Boom. The entire forest of death shook in an instant. The ground under Katsutaro's feet was seen, and the endless sand waves gushed out like a tide, turning a radius of several hundred meters into a desert. As soon as Katsutaro settled down, he was swept in by the rolling sand. There's no chance of any resistance at all. Seeing this scene, I Love Luo suddenly showed endless hideousness, when he was about to clench his fists and release the ultimate move, Sand Waterfall Burial, to bury everything. Fire Escape Dragon Fire Technique. Katsutaro's voice came from above him, and Gaara couldn't help but be surprised, but saw a hot line of fire that distorted the air, flying in. Sand Shield. There was no need for Gaara to react at all. The gourd behind him, the protective power from his mother, Jayuluo, turned into a shield to block Gaara. Hey, this is endless. In order to strengthen the power of Huodun, I specially asked Sister Shinmei to learn this trick. Looking at the blocked attack, Katsutaro grinned Isho, and then, under Orochimaru's astonished gaze, Yuyin released, Wind Dun Gale Palm. Boom. In an instant, the fire assisted the wind, the power multiplied, and the billowing flames directly drowned Gaara in it, reflecting half of the sky red, and it was terrifying. Ah! In the flames, Gaara's painful voice came, but Katsutaro's face showed no smugness. On the contrary, he actually flew out into a large area of kunai. Next moment. Asshole, I'm going to kill you. A ferocious voice tore out from the flames. I saw Gaara's right arm turned into the sharp arm of a sand monster, and his breath suddenly became quite violent. Those kunai were swept away directly by him, and then, with a wave of his hand, a dense sand bullet burst out. Puff puff. Katsutaro hurriedly avoided, and the big tree he had just settled on was directly beaten into a sieve. More sand bullets came in pursuit, and Katsutaro could only concentrate more to avoid. Bah! See. But obviously, avoiding all the time will only lead to the disadvantage. Katsutaro has been scratched a lot, and he also deeply understands Gaara's strength. As expected of the person who needs attention, that Shajir-Ching said, he is really amazing. Katsutaro continued to dodge crazily, but he couldn't do it, so he used the transformation technique and the substitute technique to dodge in a series. How wonderful. Seeing the Konoha crowd who were watching secretly, they praised again and again. Both of them are so strong. Konoha's first genius, Hyuga Ninji, looked at the two of them solemnly. He couldn't beat either of them. Ah, you bastard, give me death. Seeing that he could not hit Katsutaro, Gaara was even more angry, and chakra surged in his body. Lien Shishiu Shagra. Chapter 718 Kuro Lee is a genius. In an instant, I saw unimaginable terrifying sand bullets in all directions in this forest. Even the sky is pouring down like a torrential rain, each one the size of a fist, has the power to burst boulders and dent steel. In the face of this attack from all directions, Katsutaro couldn't help but fry directly. This is too ruthless. This simply doesn't give him any experience of living. But even more desperate is the secret observation of Neji Hyuga, Shikahi Sonara and the others. They thought that watching the play would not be in any danger. Now it seems that they are still too young. Escape. The three of Nara Shikahisa are far away, and there is still a chance to escape, but the three of Hyuga Neji, who are close, can really only face it. Go back to heaven. Neji Hyuga gritted his teeth and launched the strongest defense. A round chakra dome surrounded him and Shaoli every day. But, crack. In just 2 seconds, Huishin exploded directly, and Hyuga Ninji's face turned pale immediately. If he was hit by this kind of sand bullet, he would be injured even if he didn't die. Just when he was desperate, Shaoli's decisive voice suddenly came from beside him. This move was originally intended to be used against you, Neji, but it seems that it can only be used here. With that said, he removed the weight that had rumbled on the ground, and shouted, the first gate of opening, open. The second gate of healing, open. The third gate of life, open. The fourth gate of pain, open. Feeling the pressure of Shaoli, who was transformed into a Super Saiyan in an instant, and the oppressive pressure, Hyuga Neji couldn't help but begin to doubt life. This kind of trick was originally reserved to deal with him. If you're ready to kill him, just say so. Drink. Shaoli roared like a madman, his speeding fists burst the air, causing a violent neighing noise. Tian and Ningji couldn't help but stare in shock. Is the Shaoli in front of you really still the mediocre Shaoli who can no longer be mediocre? This sudden power made them completely uncomfortable. Under Shaoli's violent fists, the sand bombs continued to explode, and he alone guaranteed the safety of Hyuga and Neji. But if Hyuga Ningji knew that Shaoli still had one door open, would he doubt his life even more? Gaara naturally ignored Xiaoli and the others, his attention was all on Katsutaro. This sand bomb is like a destroyer. Wherever it passes, the forest bursts and the sawdust flutters. I don't know how many creatures have unfortunately died, and their flesh and blood are blurred. And Katsutaro is not much better. Even with the ultimate evasion speed tempered in Shajirqing's hands, he was still injured in the face of such an intensive attack. Kill you, must kill you, your blood must be delicious. Gaara is already close and grabs Katsutaro with one palm. In the monitoring room, Luo Sha's face almost crushed the armrests of the chair. Wan Duzi, Katsutaro died in Gaara's hands, and Cheyenne village must face Shajirqing's revenge. This will undoubtedly cast a haze on Cheyenne village. But Shajirqing was calm, not worried that Katsutaro would be killed by Gaara. His eyes actually focused on Xiaoli. It's a talent, this Xiaoli is not bad, he's a genius. For Shajirqing to praise Xiaoli for being a genius, Jiraiya and others are a bit stunned. But only Matekai, with a flash of excitement in his eyes. Finally, in this world, besides him, there are other people who also recognize Xiaoli. Even if this person is the enemy of Konoha village. Chapter 719 produced by Shajirqing, it must be a fine product. It's getting closer, it's getting closer. In the forest, Gaara's figure and Katsutaro are getting closer. However, Katsutaro suddenly grinned at Gaara Isho, and everyone in the monitoring room couldn't help but be surprised. However, seeing Katsutaro taking a long breath, his hand was actually in a knotted state, and then he shouted, "Fire escape dragon fire technique." An incomparably condensed flame faucet spewed out of Katsutaro's mouth, and directly knocked Gaara, who had no preparation at all, and flew out. Ah! This fire faucet has unparalleled impact and burning ability, and Gaara was burned in an instant. Facing the flame dragon head that Katsutaro continued to spray, the sand of protection in his body immediately burst out and turned into a shield to protect Gaara. Boom boom boom. Gaara was constantly forced to retreat, and the scorching temperature couldn't stand even sand. Gaara had a feeling of being steamed, which made the irritability in his heart even stronger. However, just when he wanted to riot, Katsutaro actually made a seal again, Wind Escape Gale Palm. Combination Ninjutsu Wind Fire Dragon Ball. The size of the flame dragon head Yufeng increases several times in an instant. In an instant, lighting up a radius of several kilometers, the endless scorching heat spread, and it roared and slammed into Gaara. Boom! The earth bursts, and the heat wave rolls. The forest was pushed away by a large pit of nearly 30 meters, and the three of Nara Shikahisa who fled not far away were blown out again. Ah! In the flames, there was Gaara's screams, and then, as the flames went out, the sound also disappeared. Ha! Ha! I have to find Murasuke and the others to join us. This is the first time I have been forced into such a desperate situation. Katsutaro didn't have time to confirm whether Gaara was defeated, so he pulled away. In the monitoring room. It's really powerful, it's even better than Konoha Jonin. Orochimaru licked his lips, his eyes were quite hot. I was just an ordinary child more than a year ago. After more than a year, is it so powerful? Shajirqing's teaching level is getting stronger and stronger. Zilai also looked at Shajirqing and thought so solemnly. What a strong fire escape. I am afraid that the Uchiha family, few people can achieve this level. The rest of the people in Shinobi village also thought so in their hearts. The battle between Katsutaro and Gaara really opened their eyes. Where are the two lower ninjas fighting? The two upper ninjas are nothing more than that, maybe even worse. Speaking of which, the three elites of Sandian village have all encountered strong middlemen. Orochimaru spoke again, and everyone nodded. Because when Gaara and Katsutaro fought fiercely, Tamari and Kankuro also fought fiercely with Watanwaro and Mirai. But they are all at a disadvantage to varying degrees. Whether it was Mirai's enchantment technique or Watanaro's swordsmanship, both Kankuro and Tamari were forced into a disadvantage. It's still as strong as ever, just like Nobuomi Anmura and the others. Hyuga Hazu glanced at the three of Anmura Nobuomi, who was standing highest behind Shajur-ching, and sighed in her heart. Just as the three of Anmura Nobuomi shocked all four, the students taught by Shajur-ching always shine brightly, making people ignore the bright spots of others. And Luo Sha, his face is a little ugly. In the surveillance screen, the area where Gara was located, the result had already come out, and Gara was burnt and passed out. And the battle between Tamari and Watanaro had to end because of Katsutaro's participation, and then evacuated. Naturally, Konkuro can only evacuate. Chapter 720. The scroll is in hand. The scene in which Luo Sha imagined the three siblings to shine, never appeared at all. On the contrary, it fulfilled Konoha Shimonen Kuroli, and got a high evaluation of Shajur-ching's, be a genius. And Katsutaro, who was taught by Shajur-ching, became famous in one battle. There are 9 out of 10 things in life that don't go your way. Don't worry so much, Your Excellency Luo Sha. But Shajur-ching still spoke in a comforting tone. Luo Sha's face suddenly turned darker. Shajur-ching crossed her legs and said, "Didn't you say, sweetness has its own sweetness?" Hearing this, Luo Sha wanted to vomit blood. On the battlefield. Next, we can only make repairs before continuing. The three of Hyuga and Neji made a decision to rest. No way, Shaoli is very weak and has suffered a certain internal injury. Hyuga Neji is also very weak and in poor condition. How to fight in such a state? Is this the strength of Shajur-ching's students? It's so terrifying that it makes one's scalp tingle. Nara Shikahisa scratched his head and said with a headache. Akamichi Choji and Yamanaka Ino immediately nodded heavily, expressing their approval. For the first time, they felt the huge strength gap between them and their peers. This sense of shock gave them a feeling of urgency. Cough, cough, it's a big loss. The battle suffered such a serious injury, but the scroll didn't get it. Katsutaro said with a distressed face that Mirai was helping him deal with the wound. Well, it can't be said that there is no gain, maybe you have the wrong target. Hearing what he said, Watanakiro said, Katsutaro couldn't help but look immediately, but saw that he was holding a scroll of earth in his hand. Just what their team needed. What is the scroll on that girl's hand? Katsutaro looked surprised. Watanaro nodded. Since that's the case, then we can almost prepare to go out. This forest of death monster is infiltrating people. Katsutaro said with a sigh of relief. I'm afraid it's not that simple. There are 73 people and 24 groups in this forest of death. Except for the 6 teams of Konoha, 1 from Cheyenne Village, and more than a dozen teams from Yuinan Village, Sao Ninja Village, Yinan Village, etc., they are all watching closely. Here, regardless of one's background, strength is king. The strength of the rest of the ninjas in the ninja village should not be underestimated. Wadashiro was obviously the leader of the team, and he analyzed it for the 2 companions. That means, we still have to kill. Katsutaro's eyes had a strong flame of war. Perhaps, there is an easier way. Watanakiro threatened Isho, saying, for example, traps. For example, illusions. In this forest of death, there is a lot of miasma and poisonous fog. If you don't use it, it will be in vain. An LT, P and GT. It makes sense, it's feasible. Mirai said. It turned out to be a female voice. You guy, I really don't understand why you don't learn ninjutsu, but you learn strategy and swordsmanship from teacher Shajur-ching. Katsutaro looked at Watanaro with a look of disgust, and said. Maybe this is my destiny. Watanaro Isho said in his heart. It's also because of my idol, Mrs. Nagumi Yasunora. I must become the same person as her, both civil and military. And when such a big battle took place here, Naruto and his group met their fateful enemy, the Tonin trio. But this time, Sasuke Uchiha, who was not bitten by Orochimaru, was never in a coma, and Naruto, who was not tortured by Orochimaru, was on the line. The Sound and Forbearance trio really didn't take any advantage.